Hey everyone, welcome back to In the Garden with Danica. Today's video is going to be a little bit different. I have a weekly vlog style coming to you. So this video will show the work that I did over the course of a weekend. Because I work during the week, I really only have the weekends to get projects done around the house. And with us remodeling the inside of the house right now, garden chores have kind of taken a back seat, but my husband and I had some time this past weekend, so we got a lot done. As you can see in the clip right now, I am working on getting the garden planted out. I'm a couple days ahead of my last frost date that I would normally plant for, but because I had time now, I took the risk and I planted out my peppers, tomatoes, and a good portion of my flowers and herbs. Of course, right after I got everything planted, that next day we had a hard frost come through, and thankfully all of my plants survived. I have yet to see any damage on them. But I do have lots of peppers planted. I have 6 varieties of tomatoes in the ground. These peppers right here are ones that I started myself. They are very small in comparison to the ones I picked up at local plant sales. I am hoping they produce, but I don't have much faith in them. I planted them pretty heavily in these pots here because peppers like to hold hands, is the saying. They like to be planted close to each other. So I'm hoping that will encourage them to grow nice and big for me. Here I'm planting out my tomatoes. I did try a new method this year of cracking an egg in the bottom of the hole. I've seen a lot of people do that, and I know it adds good nutrients and calcium to the soil and kind of helps the roots establish. So we'll see how that goes. I've never done it before. And those were just eggs that had been sitting on the counter a little too long. They probably needed to be given back to the chickens or hard boiled, so we got those used up. And I'm just putting in cages now because I have a tendency to not put in cages until it's too late and the tomatoes have already flopped over. So I'm trying to be a little more proactive this year. Most of my time in the garden this weekend was spent digging up bindweed. So we have bindweed all over the property. I spent a lot of time digging those up, and I feel like most of my time in the garden is spent battling that weed. But I got it planted out and I'm pretty happy with it. I did end up putting some flowers and herbs in between the tomatoes, but I don't think I got that on camera. It was about to rain, so I was more so focused on getting these watered in and getting the yard cleaned up so that we could get inside. My daughter had had enough. While I was doing this, my husband was so kindly finishing our fence. Our fence project took a back seat to renovation projects as well. So we had some time, we got it taken care of. And then this is actually the same day, just a little later in the day. It had kind of warmed up and gotten a little muggy, so we went inside, and when we came back out, I got some beans planted. So in the back row there, I have Oriental yard-long beans, planted with black scarlet runner beans, I believe, or Cherokee runner beans. And then in front of those, I do have a row of bush beans. And I kind of just dug a trench in front of the 2 rows that I planted. That way I know where I left off, so I don't try to plant on top of them. And then on the side here, I planted, I think it's called Minnesota Midget Cantaloupe, and then also some loofah gourds. I don't have high hopes for the loofah gourds, but I figured I'd give it a shot. And here's just an overview of what our yard looked like at the end of the day. There was Otter Pop wrappers everywhere from my daughter. She had taken her pants off at one point and ran around. Her toys were scattered around, and we had tons of tools to clean up. All right, we are on day 2 of working in the garden. My husband is cutting down these 2 bushes in front of our house. I'm hoping to get rid of all the existing landscaping, or most of it, and revamp it with garden beds. It's about to rain again. It's been a long day. Got a lot of work done on the front yard and got the garden bed planted. So I have Portaluca and then some miscellaneous annuals, poet's daffodils in the back, creeping thyme, snapdragons all along this curve here. And then interplanted between these 2 perennials, I have some more annuals, and then, sweet alyssums. That's what the little ones are. And then I've got some mulch down in between. Because of the rain, I wasn't able to get much footage of me getting this garden bed planted out, but I had to clear out all of the weeds that were there from last year and kind of fluff up the ground and then get all of these plants in the ground and mulched. And it was a pretty intensive project to get done, but I'm glad I did it. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to In the Garden with Danica. It is a foggy, brisk morning. We had hailstorms and rainstorms last night, so let's pop out to the garden and see how everything fared. The porch is a bit of a mess right now. I've got plants that still need to go in the ground, some pots that are good to go. These need to get in the ground. All right. So, over the weekend, I did get this bed planted out. I've got 6 varieties of tomatoes planted around it. I think it's called lettuce leaf basil. Not sure, it's basil. With marigolds planted in between. Kind of hard to see because they're super tiny, but. And then I've got flowers and my onions. I've got 3 pepper plants planted out here. And then doesn't look like anything's coming up yet, but along the back here I have 2 different types of beans. I have oriental yardlong beans and black scarlet runner beans, as well as melon and loofah planted over here. Everything seems to be doing okay. Got some very noisy chickies this morning. This yard is just a mess. My blueberries are setting fruit wonderfully. So many flowers on this one plant. All right, and then these are plants that are destined to go out to my parents' house. I just have not gotten around to it yet. So aside from a messy yard and lots of plants that need to get planted, everything's looking pretty good. I feel bad that I don't have time to hang out with them this morning. I'm running a little behind. But we're gonna pop out to the front and I'm gonna show you what we did out there. And here in the front yard, my plants are blooming beautifully. This one's doing okay. These plants were a little root bound, so that's why they haven't quite perked up. All right, notice anything different? I'll show you the full view of it. That way I don't get my neighbors' houses in here. I really don't think anything's gonna grow in these pots, so I need to get them replanted. And I have chamomile growing here. The white sweet alyssum is establishing nicely. The others not so much, which is okay. Already got a weed. Okay. So this weekend, my husband helped me trim up this massive tree. It's actually 2 trees that grew together, but that way I could utilize the space underneath for garden beds. This front portion here was already established as a garden bed, and I'm in the process of removing all of the gravel from the other part so that I can plant it out. So I've got Portaluca here in the corner, and then creeping thyme, and then I've got a mix of annuals planted throughout. I don't know what they're called. They were labeled as basket stuffers. I've got poet's daffodils in the back that we accidentally weed whacked. Red snapdragons along this back here. Sweet alyssum planted throughout. I've got these two perennials here. They were labeled perennial, so I'm not sure what that is. Aside from the sweet alyssums, I know that most of this is annuals and will need to be replanted, but that's fine. I was just looking to get something in here for this year. And then here at the front of the house, we took out these 3 plants that we had, and we will be removing all the gravel and digging up the roots. The end goal with the front of the house is to have it be a garden bed. That's what the 3 featherweed grasses and the 3 hydrangeas are for. We're gonna get this massive bush out. We're gonna get all the root balls from the other 3 plants out, all the gravel moved, and then add a whole bunch of potting soil and plant it. I'm hoping for it to all be perennials, so I don't have to do much every year. I'm not sure if I'm gonna get to that in its entirety this year. It's a lot of work to move that gravel to the back of our property, but I think it's going to look really good when it's done. In the future, we'd also like to remove this fountain. It has not worked since we moved in. We heard that it attracted a lot of bees, so we don't plan on plugging it in. But there's a pool basin right here that we need to remove, and we just want to get all this gravel out so that we can either redo the pavers or just make this a garden bed. All right guys, so that's all from me. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'll see you in the next video.